Everyone thinks Roman entertainment was just gladiators fighting in the Colosseum. But what if I told you it was only the pretty cover story? Behind the blood and cheers hid disturbing rituals, deadly games with slaves, and spectacles so twisted that Rome itself tried to erase them from history. So, buckle up, because what you're about to discover is not in your school textbooks, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at Roman entertainment the same way again. Today, we're uncovering the dark side of Roman entertainment that no textbook ever dares to tell you. And trust me, you'll want to stay with me till the very end, because the last revelation will completely change the way you imagine ancient Rome. Rome, the empire of power, glory, and spectacle. For centuries, we've been told stories of gladiators, chariots, and roaring crowds inside the Colosseum. But what if those world-famous shows were just the highlight reel, while the truly shocking forms of entertainment took place away from the spotlight? The Romans didn't just watch men fight beasts. They turned cruelty into ritual, humiliation into sport, and even death into public theater. And the worst part? Many of these disturbing traditions are almost forgotten today, buried beneath the glamorous myth of gladiators. We usually imagine Roman executions as something private, maybe a punishment behind closed doors. But here's the chilling truth. Public executions were considered entertainment. In the Colosseum, executions were scheduled right between the morning beast hunts and the afternoon gladiator matches. Like a halftime show, criminals, slaves, and prisoners of war weren't just killed. They were forced to act out myths where their death matched the story. For example, if the myth was about Hercules burning alive, the condemned man was literally set on fire before cheering crowds. Imagine thousands of Romans watching someone burn, not with horror, but with excitement. Shocking, right? And we're only scratching the surface, wait till you hear what they did with theater itself. Romans loved drama. But unlike our movies, some Roman plays ended with actual deaths. Actors condemned to die would be forced into scenes that ended with their real execution. Picture this. In a reenactment of the myth of Orpheus being torn apart by beasts, the actor wasn't really acting. He was genuinely mauled to death by animals. It blurred the line between art and reality. For the Romans, this wasn't cruelty, it was authenticity. They wanted the ultimate realism, even if it cost human lives. And if you think this is disturbing, just wait, because not all Roman spectacles even needed death to be terrifying. We all know about gladiators on land, but did you know the Romans sometimes flooded arenas to stage naval battles called naumachia? Sounds grand, right? But here's the dark part. These weren't just shows, they were mass slaughters. Thousands of slaves and prisoners were forced to fight on ships, while spectators watched from dry seats. There are records of entire lakes being filled with chained fighters, many of whom drowned before even facing the enemy. For the Romans, watching men desperately swim for survival was a thrilling spectacle. And this wasn't rare. It happened multiple times in Rome's history, even in front of emperors like Claudius. Imagine sitting in the crowd, knowing you're watching not staged drama, but real drowning men gasping for life. You've probably seen the classic image of gladiators fighting lions. But here is the forgotten truth. The Romans brought thousands of exotic animals from across the empire. Not just lions, but elephants, giraffes, hippos, even crocodiles. And they weren't just displayed, they were brutally killed for sport. Entire species were nearly wiped out because Rome needed fresh, exotic beasts for its games. Sometimes, animals were forced to fight each other, like rhinos against bears or lions against tigers. Other times, unarmed prisoners were thrown in with them, left to be torn apart while crowds cheered. The Roman passion for animal slaughter was so extreme that natural historians believe it permanently damaged wildlife populations across Africa and the Middle East. Yet, this was all considered just another day of fun. Now here is the most unsettling part. It wasn't just the emperors pushing these spectacles. It was the people. Romans demanded cruelty. When shows weren't bloody enough, the crowd booed. If a gladiator spared his opponent, the audience sometimes rioted, demanding death. Entertainment wasn't about who was strongest, it was about feeding the mob's hunger for blood. The Roman crowd was the ultimate director of cruelty. And this reveals something dark. The very foundations of Roman fun weren't just violent, they were a mirror of society itself. Now, let me share something rarely mentioned. Beyond the big Colosseum shows, smaller festivals in Rome had equally dark practices. During certain ceremonies, slaves were forced to wear costumes and act as kings, only to be humiliated and executed at the end. Imagine laughing at someone crowned like an emperor, knowing he'd be dead by sunset. Even comedy shows sometimes ended with real punishments for actors who offended powerful elites. Entertainment wasn't just fun, it was a constant reminder of Rome's power and brutality. By now, you're probably realizing gladiators were just the tip of the iceberg. The Romans turned death, cruelty, and humiliation into a public festival. And if you think this is disturbing, the final truth I'll share with you at the end of this video is something so eerie. It might just change how you see modern entertainment too. So stay with me till the end, because the last revelation is the most chilling of all. You might be wondering, why would an advanced civilization thrive on such brutality? For the Romans, entertainment was never just fun. It was about power. Watching humans and animals die reminded the public of Rome's dominance over enemies, over nature, even over life itself. It also served as a pressure valve. Instead of rioting against the empire, citizens released their emotions by cheering in spectacles. The famous phrase, "bred in circuses," wasn't just a saying, it was political strategy. Keep the people fed and entertained, no matter how dark the entertainment, and they'll never rebel. And now, here's the part I promised you, the darkest truth. The most unsettling form of Roman entertainment wasn't the gladiators, the executions, or even the animal hunts. It was the casual normalization of cruelty. Romans grew up watching death as fun. Children sat in arenas as men were torn apart. Families cheered executions, like we cheer sports matches today. Over time, cruelty wasn't shocking, it was culture. And that's what makes Roman entertainment's dark side so terrifying. It wasn't just a few extreme events, it was daily life. So, what do we learn from this? That the grand empire of Rome built its culture not only on engineering, law, and conquest, but also on a foundation of blood-soaked entertainment that shaped its people's minds. And here's something valuable to take with you. Whenever you see modern movies, games, or even sports pushing the boundaries of violence and spectacle, ask yourself, are we really so different from Rome? Because history shows us this. Societies collapse not just from politics or war, but from what they choose to celebrate as entertainment. If you found this eye-opening, make sure to subscribe and share, because the more we uncover history's hidden truths, the better we understand our world today. And don't forget, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think our modern entertainment carries the same risks Rome faced? Or have we truly evolved?